Hey, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LPL. Coming in for match of the week, it's EDG versus OMG. And this is sure to be a hype matchup, Frosk.
Yeah, this is one for the history books as well. If you go all the way back to the very beginning of the LPL, OMG were the dominant team. When the LPL was created 2013, they had a good run in spring, took the title in summer, and they were the definitive Chinese aggression team. Then along comes a team called EDG in 2014 and knocks OMG off their block.
Tore it all down.
Exactly. Since then, EDG have worn the crown that OMG originally held. So it's kind of like a long-term grudge match, especially as these new teams, these new rosters are kind of ramping back up into final form.
Yeah, EDG have very much been the flagship, especially as long as I remember since I joined last year. And to be honest, I feel like in this matchup, EDG is still very much favored. And I was talking to Clem and he was like, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be EDG winning in this one. But OMG, they have the potential. They always have the potential. Like, you do look at the jungle as maybe one of the weaker parts, but there's so many wild cards in the jungle as well. You got Fireloli, Meiko, you've got World 6. Who knows what's coming out of that guy?
Yeah, and Fireloli, of course, is going to be our starting jungler. And it's always this identity of trying to reclaim the legacy. That's kind of been a lot of the identity for a lot of our old school LPL teams. Invictus Gaming, Team WE, OMG, LGD are the four pillars of the LPL. These teams have been here since the very beginning. Team WE have rebuilt their legacy. We now see Invictus Gaming ramping up, and so now it's only time for OMG to rise back and be the dark forces that never give up.
Yeah, I want to see that happen because OMG are so fun when they're working really well together, and that all really, I think, stems from the mid lane, and that's exactly what we're going to focus on because Icon versus Scout should be the hype matchup of the match.
Yeah, if you look at anywhere on this map, you have to look at these mid laners. Scout on his Azir performance has just been flashing, styling, and flexing all over. He did it at Worlds, he's going to do it domestically, and he's become a turning point for this EDG roster. You know, with losing Clearlove, with losing Mouse, they need some sort of veteranship to step up, and that does come down to Scout and Meiko as the long-standing members of the organization.
Yeah, he's very much starting to show more of that consistency in his Azir play. Pretty much everything he plays in terms of this meta is fantastic to see, as you can see, just ripping apart teams. The opposite side, though, Icon, he's back to his assassins, and that's what I like to see.
Yeah, the rockstar himself. No one has more swagger, more confidence, and more flash than Icon does, and he will always step forward. He is never going to back down and just let you control a lane. He's in it to win it, and he will try to kill you to find these leads and snowball.
I will say that he had a slightly slower start to the split. Icon was definitely not as flashy as we expected him to be in his first couple games. We were like, he needs to be the pillar on that team, and then we didn't really see it until another couple series. So I guess he just needed time to warm back up, but once he got there, he really got it back up there.
And that's the thing, if it comes down to veteran status of these teams, if we're looking at Scout and Meiko, you have to look at Icon now for OMG. This is a completely revamped roster now. They've lost one of their oldest standing members in SMLZ to Rogue Warriors, and Icon is the dude who took Cool's position. You know, he started as a sub, he took down the legendary mid laner, and he forced Cool off of OMG and into a different team. So he is now kind of the center pillar, and he embodies everything that is OMG. They have always been, you know, the Chinese mafia, the badasses of the LPL, and Icon fits that perfectly.
Also, they still have OMG dad Xiyang in the top lane. Like, he's still there trying to get a leash on mid lane. But yeah, absolutely the pillar of the team in terms of what the identity revolves around is very much Icon. However, they are facing down EDG, and you saw how good Scout is, but he has so many strong people around him. We are going to jump back to OMG very quickly with Xiyang in the top lane, Fireloli in the jungle, Icon in the mid with Chelly and 5 in the bot.
I'm pretty sure just between Icon, Fireloli, and Xiyang alone that this is hands down the most handsome team in the LPL. Like,
we call them rockstars for a reason.
Exactly, they don't have going, but look at those defined jawlines.
Pretty ridiculous. And they've also got Chelly down there as well, who's just integrating into the team, but he's going to be facing down iBoy and Meiko in the bot with Ray, Haro, and Scout on the top side of the map.
And all eyes need to be on the two new members, Ray and Haro. Last time we saw Ray, he had a godly performance on his Godzilla-esque Cho'Gath. Haro, he said he's been kind of hit and miss, that he feels he's done mediocre himself. This is now his chance to kind of step up against rival Fireloli.
However, mediocre is still very good. EDG is still doing well. They still won, and they're still shooting up the standings. So I'm unsure whether OMG will just be a road bump for them here, because it just seemed like they are just starting to ramp real quickly.
Yeah, and it's kind of a consistency question with OMG. Sometimes you get those sparks of brilliance from Icon, and sometimes he just kind of gets muffled out.
Yeah, and that's really a question to see if Scout can just put him down in this game. We'll find out the answer to that question as we head over to our casters.
Thank you very much, guys. We're about to get into the final match of today. I'm Fish. Still joining me is Raz, and it's OMG going up against EDG, Raz.
Yeah,
Match of the week. Big match.
It is big, historically, and also kind of recency. Just because, historically, Frost has already said it, major organizations in the region, one went up over the other. OMG found some edge last split, and now they have to start all over again, not having SMLZ. But what's fun about this one is that Fireloli's back. Not in the jungle position for EDG like last year in spring when he was trying out there. But spring the split for OMG is now he's going up against his old team in EDG.
We'll have to see how that one pans out. He's going to be wanting to extract revenge almost, so to speak.
Yeah,
Is that the right word for it?
I would say so. Maybe he wants to just prove himself. Find out, looking across from Haro, who is essentially like the new Fireloli in the sense of a new up-and-coming jungler, starting out to see what he can do on the team. He didn't get that opportunity. Fireloli last time around, we saw some great things from his early game when he was on EDG. But the problem, of course, was that they still had indecisiveness in the later game portions of it, the mid-game, late game. They would just lose out their early game pressure. You can kind of say that's a little bit of what's happening with EDG now, losing out to Snake, but they're still in a winning kind of phase. So EDG are still doing very well. It seems like Haro is a nice fit for the team.
So you're saying this is the old Fireloli against the new Fireloli? That's what we're going with here, Raz?
I mean, I don't want to call someone else Fireloli. That just sounds weird.
No, it's Fireloli.
I'll take Haro. Yeah.
All right, the jungle. EDG's bottom lane is still one that you really have to look towards right now, though, Raz, because in the bottom lane, they've got iBoy as well as Meiko. Those two have been working so well together.
Yeah, internationally seen as probably the top, best bottom lanes in the world. iBoy is exceptional once he gets to the 20-minute mark. If you give him a Kog'Maw, don't. You've already made a mistake. For Meiko, it doesn't matter who he's laning with, in the sense that before he was with Deft, now he's with iBoy. Give him whoever he wants. He's such a strong laner. And he's a strong leader for his team. Now going up against Five, who's kind of been a leader for his own team, of course. I want to see if Five can step up and kind of outmatch Meiko.
That is iBoy is a robot, though, in that bottom lane. We have to point that out. He's an absolute machine, Raz. Doesn't seem like he ever makes mistakes.
Yeah, iRobot.
I
like that movie. Kind of makes sense here. A little bit too strong. It's already OP in the sense that you have to turn off the nameplates for these teams just because you look across of iBoy and you're already kind of treading in your boots.
I think the big thing we have to point out for these two teams is the fact that OMG currently sitting 1-2, if I'm not mistaken, whereas EDG 2-1. It's a good chance for EDG to create that gap against OMG or for OMG to equalize in this conference.
Yeah, that's the reality, of course, in this group in the sense that EDG are still seen as stronger. It felt like a roadblock losing to Snake just because Snake just proved themselves. And Snake is continuing to prove themselves as a team. And now OMG needs to do the same thing because we already talked about the fact that they're rebuilding around Chelly and kind of finding a new identity based around Five and Icon. If they can do something with that, then great for them. They still have a little bit of uncertainty in terms of who's starting in the jungle position. We saw good stuff from World 6 last time we saw him. I think that World 6 is showcasing to be a strong jungler for the team, but they still have two other junglers, Jekko and Fireloli, that wants to be able to prove themselves. We get to see Fireloli today, and if it's an upgrade to the team's early game, because they need to fire early going up against EDG.
Let me just point out we have some really interesting and really unique slogans for the teams in the LPL. I mean, WE is keep your dreams. OMG's this year is new planet, new force, Raz.
Definitely a new team. New planet is interesting.
They're a whole new planet, Raz, and they've got new force right behind them.
I just love the logos, or at least the team ideas when it comes to OMG. It's always something. Dark forces unite. There's always something when it's OMG. Something edgy, something cool. This time around, new planet just makes sense because it's a new team, or at least a new identity for the team. So I'm going to look at Fireloli and Chelly. That's the new for the team, and I want to see if they can kind of showcase that, new strengths for them, going up against iBoy.
And they can still play around Icon, they can still play around Five. Those are two big playmakers for the team.
Yeah, I'm wondering about, when you're talking about Icon, I want to look a little bit deeper in his champion pool, because he showcased a lot of strength when he was on the LeBlanc pick. One of the highlight plays we had on the desk was him just styling on LeBlanc. They still lost that game. LeBlanc is not a meta mid laner right now. The meta mid laner are the picks that currently Icon is struggling with. So if he can pick up the Azir, if he can pick up these control mages, and work well with his team, then sure. Maybe he can just pick up Zoe and say, maybe I'll just be an assassin. Zoe really does fit his kind of style.
If he can pick up Zoe.
If he can pick it up, because that champion's getting banned, especially EDG, who've been not quite fond of the champion going into pick ban.
Well, we're going to head into pick ban between these two teams. And Zoe, unfortunately, is going to be banned out by OMG right off the bat, as well as Jarvan and Kalista being taken away. Vladimir, Ryze, and Gangplank are the 3 bans that come out from EDG.
Yeah, immediately the mid lane to focus on. Ryze, Zoe gone. Puts a big focus on towards Malzahar and Azir. I would say if I was any team, pick up the Azir early.
And that's exactly what OMG do. They lock in Azir for Icon nice and early.
But that's why I was saying if I'm OMG, I don't know about that. Still seems that Icon needs to know how to play Azir around his team. We need to see more from him. Because it's a good pickup for himself to kind of showcase he can play it well enough for his team. And also to take away from Scout, because all we've ever been seeing from Scout is Azir, Azir, Azir.
And there's one thing we said not to give iBoy going into picks and bans, Raz, and they're giving it over. It's Kog'Maw locked in.
Uh-oh. I didn't want to see it from iBoy, but now we're going to have to. When he gets on to the Kog'Maw pick, it just feels like he has random powers you don't expect. He just walks up at you because he knows the number. He's done the calculations of how much damage he can output and how much damage he could take before he dies. And so he never dies. He just finds a way to walk up at you with no tanks around him and still kill you. It's scary.
He's even got the support of a Karma, most likely heading into the mid lane for Scout. This was previously a big support pick, but it has been shown in the mid lane 3 times now, I believe it is. 5 times in the LPL.
We don't see many.
Can't count it.
I'm glad that they're showing us the numbers here. But I'm glad that we're seeing more Karma plays. It's the poke within the lane. It's really nice. It's a good answer towards Azir. Azir has done poorly against poke, and that's why we don't see a lot of Karmas in the bottom side of the map. It's because poke is pretty much healed instantly with the amount of relic shields that you're seeing there. So we've been seeing a lot more Karmas making a home in the mid lane.
Yeah, patch 8.2 needs to, get over here faster, Raz. We see less of that healing in the bottom lane. Varus and Braum are the lock-ins for OMG. Chelly and 5 will be playing that in the bottom lane.
Love that you were focusing on that. I was focused on the cool keyboard. Rainbow colored. But nah, honestly, yeah, the Varus and Braum are very standard picks, allowing you to have strong team fights. Varus has had such a high win ratio in the region. Gives you everything. It gives you the CC that you need, allows for top lane to go towards a carry pick because you don't necessarily need that engage. If you're top lane, if you're a jungler, an AD carry can provide that CC. And it has a lot of the extra damage, percent damage coming in from your passive.
You know what, EDG say? Karma's a great support in the mid lane to help you out, iBoy, but let's give you Taric as well.
Oh my god.
Let's make sure you're invulnerable during these team fights.
Now you know what's going to come through if you're going up against EDG. If the Karma and Kog'Maw didn't give you a clear enough picture, that's a brutish team fight force coming from EDG. And so this is where I would expect Ray to actually go towards a tank pick. If I'm OMG, I would look to target that top lane opportunity. Ornn is gone. Actually, EDG was the one that banned it. But I would like to see OMG try and rob like a Maokai or something away from them. Yeah, no, you know what? EDG is robbing the Maokai away from OMG. What's happening, Fish?
Maokai's been banned as well as Ornn. That's what's happening here, Raz. Denying the pick from OMG after they already picked up Braum. Rengar is being banned out against Haro here by OMG.
But now it's kind of confusing. I think what EDG is trying to do is trying to pick up a top laner immediately when they get into their own phase and deny the usual tank tops that honestly you would want for a teamfight composition that OMG would have. So this would turn out to be a triple tank takeaway from OMG if that's the case. It just depends if EDG is willing to get Ray's pick immediately.
Whereas Nara is the final ban that comes out from OMG. EDG now gets to pick their next champion. They're not going to do it, Raz.
Are they just going to pick up Sejuani here?
They're not going to pick up Morgana for the top lane. Instead, they pick up their jungler, which is going to be Rek'Sai for Haro.
Okay, it's basically paying ode to Clearlove's Rek'Sai here. Has a high win rate, but we haven't seen a lot of Rek'Sais just because it's not really strong for the meta here. Has decent enough early game and drops off massively in the late game team fights just because you don't have utility and you get popped pretty easily. And that's pretty important if you're going into this meta, is actually fighting in the late game team fights.
But I do have a lot of support backing up that Rek'Sai at the moment. Cho'Gath is a lock-in for OMG. Xiyang should take that into the top lane.
And Cho'Gath's a big pickup. And this is getting
Whoa!
Okay. All right.
Xin Zhao's been locked in for OMG. That should be heading into the jungle for Fireloli. Spicy pick here, Raz, for the first game.
Let's go. This is so sick. All right. Obviously, you look to the stats, nothing, because there is no Xin Zhao, and I don't even remember the last time we've seen him. I've seen a lot of Xin Zhao in EU solo queue because there was a point in time when he got reworked where he was just so strong. Early game, that's it. That's where you have to be afraid of him, is in the early game. He just out-trades almost every jungler out there. You pick a jungler up against Xin Zhao, he probably has press the attack or electrocute, doesn't matter. He's just chopping you to bits.
The only time Xin Zhao's been played this year, Raz, is in the CB LoL, and that was twice.
Well, congrats to them, honestly.
So this is the new Xin Zhao, though, Raz.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people recognize the old one, where he just charges in, hits you 3 times, and then you're just probably dead.
Yep.
But he's got a new ultimate. He's got a skill shot as well now.
So let's talk about it. Because the new ultimate is essentially...
It's an anti-Kog'Maw ultimate,
yes,
that's what it is.
It is. I was about to say middle finger, but I'm sorry, I'll repeat it. It just basically looks at the Kog'Maw and said, you're not doing much damage to me unless if you actually walk up to me. Don't walk to me, because I will use my E and just jump on top of you. So a lot of the range damage that now EDG is relying on in these team fights is threateningly might get blocked out by Xin Zhao. But don't be fooled. A lot of the traits that you were talking about, that is a great drawing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Is that Xin Zhao will still get blown up in these later team fights. He still has that problem where he builds incredibly assassin-y, a lot of damage on him, and he jumps in. His ult will just kind of fade away at some point, and he gets torn apart. A lot of his focus is in the early game, in his ganks, in his skirmishing. He's going to be super on top of the enemy side jungle. So I'm afraid for Rek'Sai. I'm praying for him. He's laughing. He's an evil man. He's already taken over by the Dark Forces fish.
New planet, new force, Raz. New planet, new force. But Xin Zhao kind of looks like it would do well in this composition, especially since the only real damage dealers coming out from EDG is going to be the Kog'Maw. Maybe that Gummet's such a support-heavy team comp, Raz.
It is. And so this is why it's kind of ingenious in the sense that all of the damage and all of the focus from EDG is tailored towards the Kog'Maw. It's tailored towards that AD carry. And they're just saying, no, we're going to deny that. We're going to try and get on top of you if we can. And if we can't get on top of you, if we're going to a tank, then you just can't deal damage to me.
Both teams not even giving turns to each other there, Raz, just fighting over atop one another. As Indiana was saying on the desk, this is a historic rivalry, the two of the old dynasty teams in the LPL.
And a lot of times it's hard to find that same fire when there are so many new players on the team. So even though we talk about the history around both of these squads, only really like the management, CEOs remember. You look towards both of these teams and you're like, well, actually, maybe Xiyang. Xiyang would remember those days. Kind of just like...
He's been around for a while.
Yeah, he's a veteran for this team.
Early invade actually coming in from EDG just pushes Chelly off of the tri-brush. We'll still be able to help out with the leash on towards red buff for Fireloli. As we mentioned, he's going to be picking up the Xin Zhao, something we haven't seen in any league so far except for the CB LoL this year.
And the funny thing is there currently is a bug around Xin Zhao in terms of his walking animation where he just kind of hops around. So you'll have to get used to that.
Very, very happy jungler, Raz.
Makes you kind of feel threatened just because here's my way of dealing with Xin Zhao in the jungle. You try and not fight him at all times. That hopping, he's going to be hopping it towards you. He's definitely going to be trying to find an opportunity to kill you. So I would assume that he would go press the attack. Ooh, phase rush.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically 3 attacks, or at least 3 abilities, and he gets the added movement speed. So he wants the movement speed. He wants to be able to stick onto you. He already has the damage.
Gotta go quick, Raz.
And Haro would definitely have seen that. Will definitely have Rek'Sai recognized that Fireloli is essentially aiming towards him. So that's when we start looking towards the camp-to-camp takes. That Rek'Sai has to be smart around how he paths because he does not want to path towards the Xin Zhao.
Well, one thing we do have to recognize about Rek'Sai is he has an 87% win rate, Raz, globally for 2018. So we don't see it too much. It's been picked 5 times in the LPL. 4 of those were victories. This is going to be the 6th game. He's actually going for a gank in the bottom lane. Chelly and 5. One of them gets stunned up. 5 forced to flash away, and Chelly's in so much trouble. He already admits defeat, Raz. Gets taken out. First blood picked up by iBoy.
Yeah, the only thing I can say is that I think the heal from Meiko was a bit of an overkill, but the first blood was beautiful from Haro to come in for that gank.
On top of that, his 100th kill in the LPL, Raz. iBoy starting this game nice and strong. He's going to be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, it's definitely one thing that you could kind of look at.
Both Chelly and iBoy started with the unsealed spellbook. So Chelly not able to trade out his summoner spell. He's forced to walk back to the lane, which is being frozen by EDG. But teleport is going to come in for iBoy.
And that's what kind of sucks about having the unsealed spellbook for AD carries here, is that a lot of the times the benefit of having proper base timings is that you can deny someone a wave or get a little bit more chip on tower. That's not going to happen here when iBoy will say, I don't really care too much about having an offensive summoner because this lane is usually as inactive as possible. So he just uses his TP to get in there. So even though they only had one minion wave holding that bottom lane tower from being able to rob him from a lot of minions, he just uses his TP there and he's able to pick up the entire experience in gold.
Yep, they're going to be able to get a nice lead in the bottom lane. 25 CS to 18 already. Top side of map, Xiyang picking up the Cho'Gath. This is something that we see picked into Vladimir frequently. But Ray did get the counter pick, so to speak. He got the last pick of his team, picking up Shen into the matchup.
Yeah, so that's what's pretty awesome about the Karma pick, pretty awesome about the Shen pick. It kind of has decent laning phases, while at the same time just playing towards an overarching team fight. Nothing like the last set, where we saw Poppy not only play towards team fights, just get demolished in the laning phase itself. But they're cognizant of the laning phase. You're going to have to be cognizant of this gank, though. Yeah,
they certainly are. Ray in trouble, already taking quite a bit of damage. Fireloli trying to path towards it, gets the challenging smite down. The dodge field comes through, but the knock-up is good for Fireloli. Flashes on top of Ray's head. Couple auto attacks, and he gets it! Fireloli picks up a kill in the top lane.
Yeah, Fireloli, strong gank from him. Ray did his best to be able to get out of it, but there was no way that he was going to dodge the skill shot from Fireloli's W. Strong kill from him.
Already seeing the early impact coming out from the Zhao. Also picking up the challenging smite, something we have to take a look at later on in the match.
And that kind of showcases, here's the thing about Rek'Sai. We talked a little bit about the win rate that he has. A lot of the focus that Rek'Sai does have in his early game damage, his early game gank pressure, it's really strong. We already saw what kind of gank that you can output. Haro getting a successful one in the bottom side of the map. But that's why the Fireloli pick of going straight towards Zhao, sure, cancels out, or at least it does well against the composition. But up against Rek'Sai, you want to find it, you want to skirmish up against it. It was impressive that Haro found a window to find a gank without having to go up against Fireloli. But from this point forward, especially now that Fireloli has a kill, he's going to look to search for him. So we're going to have to look at the jungle pathing. And if Fireloli ever finds an opportunity to get into a deep ward, can play with the icon pressure in the mid lane, to find and limit Haro's movements.
Gold's still dead even between these two teams, Raz. Very early into the match, though, just 6 minutes. A couple of purchases have come out for the two teams. We already saw that Varus went back to base, but was just able to upgrade his Relic Shield, that's it. iBoy was able to do the exact same thing, pick up an extra dagger for himself, and since we are 6 minutes in, all the stopwatches have come online. There's 3 for the side of EDG, 2 for the side of OMG, both those in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so it just kind of showcases how both lanes have seen, or at least both bottom lanes have seen this dual lane. They're not really forecasting any fights. There's too much protection here with both Taric and Braum providing a lot of utility if there is ever a gank. And of course the unsealed spellbook allows them to kind of get out of there with a defensive summoner as well. The heal on Taric allows him to get away utilizing his ulti once he does ping 6 as well. So there's just nothing going to happen towards this bottom side of the map early on. That's why a lot of focus is going to be towards mid lane and top lane.
Haro trying to see if he can go for a gank, but Raptors do respawn, so he sticks around for those instead. And again, Raz, very early, very patient game from the two teams. We already seen the first gank come out from Fireloli, but haven't really seen what this Zhao pick is all about. Could be a cheeky way to snatch a win against EDG, or potentially a strategy that teams really have to look towards when they're up against Fireloli.
Yeah, it's definitely a wrench in the plans of EDG. Just kind of like something they have to be able to look back towards, not scrims or competitive games, but just kind of solo queue experiences, Haro would have to like look back to how he would usually play against the Zhao, and he's been doing a pretty good job at that. So right now, being able to get that one gank and then just farming up, keeping up in farm with Fireloli has been solid. That being said, now that Fireloli is getting close to his warriors in Chan, it's going to be much harder for Haro to find an opportunity to find that other gank, because his worry from this point on is not so much like, are the ganks going to work, but are the ganks going to work, and is he going to find a counter gank for me?
I mean, and surely it has a psychological effect as well. We know at Worlds, when Urgot was picked up by the Gigabyte Marines, their opposition's team comms were, what does Urgot do? And surely with a champion like Zhao, who has been reworked, has been some time since that rework, but we haven't seen him played.
Yeah, at all. Like, other than solo queue, that's it. That's where you're pretty much grasping at your knowledge here.
He's going for another gank top side map. Put a land on top of Ray. Good dodge field coming out to negate some of the damage, but that does give this big wave for Xiyang and Fireloli to knock down. He has demolished rats. Xiyang's going to be able to make short work of these turrets. The red buff as well from Fireloli, adding the extra damage.
Yeah, and there's no TP here from Ray. They can actually just take this turret on this one push with a cannon minion, finally dying here.
That's first turret being picked up by OMG. Fireloli backs away, gives it all to Xiyang, so that's going to be a massive Cho'Gath, even denying all the CS away from Ray.
Oh, no. All right. So this is worrying. But EDG are actually prepping up for the next play, which is good for them, being able to take Dragon and perhaps a bottom lane dive. But I think that, OMG are already on the ball in terms of this one and playing defensively.
They have to play very defensively. Although there's no teleport available for Ray or Xiyang, there is Stand United available for the Shen. He can make his way down to the bottom lane. But good moves from OMG. Icon shoves back in the mid lane, forcing Scout to return. Haro takes a bit too long on this Dragon, so he's forced back into his side of the jungle as well. So OMG get a turret, a free turret out of that trade. Yeah,
and they can continue to push out the top lane matchup now that Xiyang has picked himself up a Glacial Shroud, immediately purchased the Righteous Glory. So that's a strong teamfight element, but also gives him the armor so he can actually continuously go back topside and be able to push out this matchup. So I think that Fireloli can utilize that top lane turret that's being taken down to kind of have deeper wards, deeper invades. Look at Icon, he's pushing out this wave, so there's no excuse for them to not kind of group up as a team, that three-man unit of Cho'Gath, Azir, and the Zhao, to get deeper vision and see if they can kind of push Haro to only be farming out the bottom side.
In a very quiet game between these two things just to start. We've seen a couple of ganks, but neither team making a very risky play just yet. Scout just trying to clear out this mid lane. Icon's been doing a really good job though, Raz. He's been making sure that Scout's constantly kept underneath his own turret.
Yep. And to hit your point a little harder, the reason why it's so slow in a lot of cases, or at least methodical, is just because it can really snowball in either favor, right? Warriors being built by both Haro and Fireloli means that if either of these junglers get another kill, then like the Shen will just be able to get an ulti on top of Haro and he can make a play happen on the bottom side of the map, or Fireloli can just essentially continuously gank and maybe even dive the mid lane. So an opportunity of one death turns into much more than that.
These two top laners just so passive, Raz. They just want to farm. No one wants to fight on the top lane anymore. Interesting to note that iBoy is still slightly ahead of Chelly at the moment. Unsealed spellbook for both of the AD carries. iBoy got that nice natural lead from the teleport back into the bottom lane. Chelly still opting to hold on to heal. Has not swapped out his summoner spell just yet.
Yeah, probably just because of the last gank that came through. Doesn't want to ever find himself in a position where he has TP instead of a offensive summoner because of how much pressure EDG are outputting on this turret. Wants to keep himself up top. And now that Rek'Sai's here.
This is going to fall. Easy pickup here for the turret. Forces Chelly to flash away. OMG knew this was going to happen. Had Fireloli and Icon rotating down. Scout and Haro in the wings just making sure that EDG was safe when taking that turret. So the scoreboard's been equalized once again.
Yeah, this is where I start to criticize OMG just a little bit. They're not really working as a team. They had the top lane freed up for quite some time, and they've had mid lane being pushed in quite a bit by Icon. But in those windows, they didn't actually use Zhao to start to create more vision in the red side jungle. They finally have vision now, but it took some time, and it allowed EDG to actually kind of fully push their members towards the bottom side and finally take that turret.
So what exactly are OMG going to try and do here? Because we know, we've talked about Zhao a lot. We know this is unorthodox. We haven't seen it much in competitive play. EDG team comp, we know exactly what they're trying to do, which is protect iBoy.
Yep. OMG needs to go for that chase down a lane. That's why it's either the long lane or top lane if it's chasing down Ray, or if it's chasing down iBoy and Meiko on the bottom side of the map. They have a lot of movement speed with the phase rush on Fireloli, and he has a lot of dashes. Ooh. Is he actually going to get picked off?
He's in trouble. Xiyang's going to get good damage down. There's a teleport coming in from either Scout or iBoy. I think it's both of them jumping into the top lane here. iBoy's the first one to show up. Xiyang gets the solo kill onto Ray, being hunted down. Can he escape? Scout doesn't find him, but Spooky Ghost does. Slows him down. iBoy dodges out away from the rupture. Scout's going to be able to lock him down. iBoy with the execute picks up the return kill for EDG.
That was still impressive from Xiyang to be able to find a solo kill onto Ray. He did not need Fireloli, and even though I was looking for it, I was like, maybe they can get a 2v1, maybe they can chase him down. No, Xiyang was like, I could chase you down myself. Did you not press tab? I have righteous glory.
Almost a throwback to Season 7 there. iBoy with the fancy shoes, though, dodges out from the rupture. He gets the assist with Scout trying to pick up that kill. So they do clean it back up 1 for 1. That's now 2 kills onto the Kog'Maw, though. That's the man who EDG are relying on to dish out damage in this game.
Yeah, so that's a positive. I think both teams are actually on a right track in terms of the win condition, especially EDG. Oh, unless if a fight breaks out here.
Meiko does get the stun on towards Icon. Haro backs away for now as Shen gets delivered to the back lines, only locking down 5 with a good ultimate. Ultimate will come out from Icon as well, stopping EDG from moving any further forward. During this time, Chelly's able to take down the bottom lane out to turret for OMG.
Yeah, that was a really scary moment for OMG. They do not want to fight while their AD carry is taking down bottom lane turret. So they still had 2 proper ultis, both Braum ulti and Chelly, Icon, to be able to push him off them. That was really well done. Unfortunately, that being said, EDG were still able to take the Rift Herald.
Turret trade for Rift Herald is not bad though, Raz, because Rift Herald just sets up for a turret unless you can make a big power play off the back of it.
While that may be true, my counterpoint to that would be mid lane turret is the most important turret in the game in that sense. That's when you can actually have access to both the blue side and red side jungle in terms of vision, and when the clock starts to strike 20, that's what you need to be able to start putting down deeper wards to be able to play around Baron. So sure, that was a good tower take from Chelly to be able to take bottom lane tower, but the relevancy of that is pretty minuscule.
In 10 seconds, we have our favorite dragon, Raz. It's the Cloud Dragon.
Oh,
coming back up for OMG and EDG. You can already see OMG have some decent vision and decent numbers around the pit, making sure they can start this one, and they do. Fireloli wants to go for the objective. It's not a dragon you usually see teams fight around. EDG could potentially go and look for a fight, decide not to.
Just a good window to be able to get yourself a free objective, and it opens up the next one, which is going to be an Earth Dragon. So that was really strong from them, be able to just kind of roll the dice in a sense, and utilize the wave clear, or at least the push that they had in the mid lane, finding out EDG were all basing at the same time, or at least 3 of their members, to be able to get themselves a free objective.
Just stationing iBoy as well as Meiko in the mid lane now, just holding up that wave, making sure they constantly can farm out. Decent pickup coming out from iBoy already. Gwynce's Rage Way and Ninja Tabi complete. Now has the Negatron Cloak as well, just to reduce some of the magic damage that will come out from Icon. Should build that into a Wit's End later. Okay, look. He might pay for that one, forced to jump away and use his ultimate. What was it, a bait, Raz? It could have been a bait because Haro takes so much damage and Chelly takes him down. iBoy, we scoop back into the fight, looking to dish out as much as he can, and it definitely was a bait, Raz. That is next level 600 IQ play coming up from OMG.
That was a ruse. That was just another Gandhi play. I cannot believe that somehow EDG thought they saw an opportunity onto 5 who just randomly used his own stopwatch. And they all lose their lives for it.
I can't tell who outsmarted who there, Raz, but that was a unique one. Haro jumps in, he dies straight away, and Icon with the great scoop, knocking both the AD carrier support into the front lines.
Let's get a close-up onto this one. Look him right in the eye. They saw this happen.
Wait, Haro didn't know. They had no vision there, Raz. They were trying to go for Chelly.
That is, either way, they found themselves 2 members, both 5 and Chelly. Proper disengage to keep Chelly alive, and they just jump on top of him. That was really strong from Icon to be able to just trap him into the fight.
Shen was not there. Scout was nowhere close, and a very greedy play almost coming out from Haro, jumping over the back lines. Runs into a wild Braum. Chelly takes full use of that. You already mentioned they're trying to rebuild around Chelly. He had a great team fight there on the Varus.
Yep. Has had some really good team fights so far with the team, the short time that he's really been with them. I want to see a little bit more because he has large shoes to fill, filling in for SMLZ, who is now on Rogue Warriors. And from the time that I've seen him in the LSPL, he's been putting out really strong numbers. He has the same style, too, as SMLC, so he has a lot of room to grow, and honestly, I think that it's going to fit OMG style quite well.
And look, Raz, counterpoint to your counterpoint. Oh. Rift Herald is forced to be used in the mid lane. You don't get anything from it.
Yeah, that's a bad Rift Trail.
EDG now 4,000 gold behind OMG, Raz. Not looking good for them at the moment. The unorthodox pick of Zhao hasn't done too much. They got a couple of ganks here and there. They put pressure on the top side of the map. But really, that big team fight in mid lane has broken the game wide open for OMG.
Yeah, that's what's going to be a little bit unfortunate for EDG, is that the one key thing that you noticed, of course, in how the last fight really kind of turned against EDG was the fact that, of course, Rek'Sai makes one wrong play, he dies immediately. We talked about that being snowballing because if now Rek'Sai is far behind and he's built towards damage, doesn't have his Black Cleaver just yet, but if he's going to go straight towards the damage route, then who on this team is going to start a fight? Maybe a flash play from the Taric, maybe a taunt flash from Shen. Let's just say it's very small, doesn't make much of an impact, and OMG can play around that quite well. It's hard to look at that and be like, well, you know what? Yeah, they actually don't have a real engage force. So if you lose early, you just lose in these team fights, unless if you have a miracle play.
Both teams, once again, Raz, playing this one nice and slow. Baron comes up in 20 seconds. Next Dragon is going to be a Mountain. However, it is EDG that have lost all their outer turrets so far. Only taking the one against OMG in the bottom lane.
Yeah, this is when we should be testing OMG and how they can actually have proper vision control. Seeing if we can actually see them start to have proper control of the Dragon that's coming up in less than 2 minutes. If EDG feels comfortable fighting around that, because they really shouldn't. And how well they can play around red side jungle, because they have some really good ways to deny Haro from this Baron if they do go towards like a pseudo 50-50. So OMG are put in a pretty good position to succeed in this game.
Incredibly good position. As we mentioned, EDG really relying on iBoy to dish out the damage here. Yes, they have Haro. They have plenty of support staff on their team. Hello.
Creative.
Casually knocked back into the pit.
Yeah, so I just want to see what the support staff that we've been kind of talking about a little bit, what they can do with the team. Honestly, the support staff for both these teams, that's the best thing about Spring Split. We get to see the creativity for both teams, and we get to see the growth around the rookies of Chelly and iBoy.
And as you mentioned in Champ Select, Raz, that's really what OMG have been trying to rebuild their team around. Fireloli stepping in today, already stepping in with a punch, picking up the Zhao. Icon and Chelly doing well so far. 5, he may have hit the stopwatch by accident, didn't matter too much, followed up in a team fight quite nicely. And OMG really positioning around the Baron at the moment. They've controlled the vision game around the top side of the river.
Yeah, and they've had a pretty good wave pushing on to the bottom side of the map too, so they're in a great position.
Ultimate coming out from Chelly to try to lock down Meiko. Ultimates get used, but it's Meiko who's forced to flash away.
Yeah, and time it. You know 5 is timing that one. Now Meiko is going to be the new target for the next fight. That is going to be forced here because Baron's gotten started.
Teleport actually coming preemptively into the mid lane, even though EDG don't have vision over this. Haro will be able to spot them out with the Tremor Sense. Meiko, look at it go in, but he can't get it. The feast is too much. OMG get the Baron play, and they're still trying to chase down the rest of EDG. Ultimate's going to come out there from a couple of Metaverse trying to slow them down. OMG will take that single pick and the Baron buff. Now they're going to mid lane.
Yeah, just a single teardrop for Icon, who kind of messed up his combo trying to get Meiko, because he had the combination ready for him just to get the kill. But that's still a free Baron for OMG, and now they're going to be running down this mid lane.
Ray tried to use Stand United to get into that fight, but they burst through Haro too quickly. He couldn't survive to bring the Shen into the back lines. OMG push through mid lane. They take down an inner turret for themselves. Now with the gold lead they have, almost 7,000 gold up, Raz. They can go back to base, recall, pick up all the objectives, and continue pushing for all these outer turrets.
Oh, you probably want to get out of there. Thank God. That stun did not, or at least the snare did not actually apply for Fireloli. A slight pushback with his ulti. But what I really love about this team when it comes towards those Baron, we kind of talked about a little bit of the Baron 50-50. It's no longer a 50-50 if they can time it with the Cho'Gath ulti. And that's what's been happening here. That's what makes it so hard for Haro. He's not gone towards the tank build, so he has to find as slim of an opportunity as he can to look for a smite steal. And even when he gets in there, getting chomped away from him.
Still 2 minutes left of this Baron buff for OMG to work with. Dragon's back up and available. EDG pinging towards it. They have numbers there, but OMG are splitting up across the map once again. Xiyang has teleport available for his team.
Yep, taking care of the waves. And you know what does that? Apparently Static Shiv. I have not seen this build from Zhao before. I've seen like Black Cleavers a lot more, so you can have some HP around you and you can kind of deal with these tanks. But he's just gone outright for the attack speed. Helps with the wave clear, but also he has a lot of damage. The crit will help as well if he can kind of tag Scout or iBoy. It's really aggressive and hopefully it pays off.
I mean, it's going to be dangerous if you can get on top of Haro or Ray, even Scout or Meiko, if he's out of range from iBoy, who can't deal damage to him unless he's inside his ultimate circle. Potentially pick off one of these supporting casts in the team that are going to be able to protect iBoy.
Yeah, and the closer you look at this composition from EDG, feels like no one is safe. Ray has his shield, or at least his W, to be able to stop himself from getting knocked up until he's out of it. But he's gone straight towards the magic resist here. So that magic resist ain't going to help you when you're going up against Fireloli.
Doesn't have too much of it yet. Mercury threats were picked up by Ray as well. Icon going to be continue pushing in this bottom lane. That turret is going to be taken down. Top side of the map, Xiyang is still pushing in against Ray with the Baron buff. And top lane inner turret is the only inner turret left standing for EDG.
They're already moving towards it. You can look at OMG on the map. All we're centered around that inner bottom lane tower, and the moment they get it down with the help of Azir, they move straight towards that top lane. So this is a new OMG. We're seeing that they're just zeroed in on this focus, not looking so much towards the fights. If they can pick up the objectives, then that's a win for them.
And that's a very staple Baron play almost, Raz. Take every small objective you can, you clear out the opposition's jungle, and then take down and knock down every outer turret in the game. Doesn't win you the game, but sets you up to do just that, because now it's a 9,000 gold lead for OMG.
Yeah, the best thing about this, we don't get to talk about this a lot, is that it allows them to come back onto the map and deny the entire jungle from the side of EDG. EDG can't necessarily go towards bottom side jungle, can't go towards top side jungle, because if you're in the bottom side of the map and OMG's in the top side of the map, then you're already in a numbers disadvantage and you have to base, go with your team, or else they'll die in a fight. And if you go top side of the map, you can't walk into your own jungle or you'll get picked off. So all of those camps, the Raptors, the Krugs, all of that belongs to Fireloli now.
You can see the gold leads there. A lot of that's in the top side of the map. 3,000 gold in favor of Xiyang. Big leads in the jungle as well as mid lane. It's only really iBoy who is 1,000 gold off Chelly. That's the smallest gold lead on the map at the moment. He's picked up some decent items for himself, iBoy. He's got his Wit's End. He has the Zeal up as well. Looking for that Hurricane next. But he's across from Blade of Ruin King pick up from Chelly with the Guinsus, with the Wit's End as well. And he still has that stopwatch. Both AD carries do.
Yeah, the stopwatch will be the most valuable part about it, even though it's the least gold value to it, I'd say. Just because everybody wants him dead on the side of OMG, and they all have the ability to do that. Icon wants to be able to get to the backside and be able to kind of Azir sec him into the team. Fireloli wants to be able to jump on top of him and has a lot of damage to kind of follow through. Xiyang, if he can find the opportunity, he has Stone Plate, so he can just pop Stone Plate, flash on top of him, and then chomp him for about like 70% HP. Like, all of that really hurts iBoy. So if he has proper timing on his stopwatch, he can turn a fight with that.
I know there's a lot of threats there, Rads, but did you just call that the Azir sec combo?
Yes.
Insect did not play that champion, Rads.
It's still the concept. People call it Azir sec. I can too. You don't criticize them.
Hey, that's the first time I've heard it being called that.
Well, there you have it.
Oh, the Azir sec coming out from Icon. He was
You do
able
have
to get
to
it.
find another word for it.
He was able to get it in the last big team fight. Not the one around Baron, but the one where we saw the interesting stopwatch play coming out from 5. We'll have to see if he's able to do it again. Dishing out decent amount of damage this game. Already has an Ashes too. Landry's Torment and Rabadon's Death Cap picked up. Across from him, Scout. bits and pieces of support items here. Athene's. He's got the Ardent Sensor as well picked up, and just a not blasting one, a needlessly large rod.
Wonder if he tries to go towards a little bit of poke. Rabadon's actually would just be a good round out because it would support the rest of his items as well. So he'd have a stronger shield with the AP that he has. So I like that aspect from it. It's still all in the basket of iBoy, but I mean, you can look at the pressure that Icon is currently pressing towards the mid lane. And obviously the Rabadon's death cap that he has, he's going to be a big primary point that keeps iBoy out of range from dealing a lot of damage.
He sure is.
And he has the option to using his Shurima Shuffle. There we go. You're welcome.
Over OMG Raz, still waiting for this next Baron to come back up. 25 seconds. Xiyang uses this time to push out bottom lane, take some more jungle camps away from EDG. The rest of OMG are around the red side jungle of EDG, just clearing out wards, making sure that there is no vision whatsoever for EDG at the moment.
Yeah, and what moments ago was an 8k gold lead turns in now to a 10k gold lead. And all of that is just happening because of the denied CS, the denied camps happening here on the side of OMG. Chelly is really out of sorts though. He's pretty deep. He's gonna have to watch out.
No one from EDG close by though, whereas Fireloli and Xiyang have already started on this Baron. Scrying Orb comes through. Icon jumps into the pit as well. They have the Feast available. They make short work of the Baron buff. Nothing EDG can do.
Yeah, really, really fast Baron take. And even then, you just had a burst come through from Xiyang. Didn't even use Stoneplate for it. So this is hard. EDG cannot get that miraculous smite steal that a lot of teams would hope for at this point in the game.
And it's going to continue. OMG still have the pressure against EDG, keeping them inside their base, starving them of resources. Almost 30 minutes into this game. Yes, an Infernal's going to respawn, but I don't think OMG are going to look towards that objective just yet. Now pushing down towards mid lane inhibitor turret. Where do EDG start to try and look for a fight? Because slowly OMG are going to suffocate them out of this match.
It would have to be right now, because look what Xiyang is doing. If he's pressuring towards this tower now, they can actually use Ray to immediately get on top of Chelly with an ulti. That's, yep, there we go.
That is disgusting.
Sad face. But they have to go now.
There we go. EDG trying to force the issue, go for that fight. Chelly will flash away nice and early. 5 takes the brunt of the damage, and iBoy gets that first kill. Haro uses stasis to stay alive. Ray forced out, but Chelly will get the return kill onto the jungler of EDG. Xiyang rejoins the fight with Righteous Glory, just a 1-for-1 trade. But it's OMG that push in towards the inhibitor turret. They take it down nice and easy. Allow EDG to reset this one, but without their jungler, difficult for EDG to go back in.
Yeah, it was a desperation fight. They really needed that fight to at least keep even in the game. It's just unfortunate that the trade is support for jungle. Had they been able to get on top of Icon, then that would have been decent enough to look to kind of stop the push from happening. But no, either way, they lose out, and now they lose their inhibitor.
On top of that, EDG using every single summoner almost. Only Cleanse and Flash available for Scout and iBoy. Which for the side of OMG, just Flash used on Chelly and Ignite used by 5. They're ready for another fight. They still have 2 minutes of Baron buff to work with. They're taking down mid lane inhibitor turret as well as the inhibitor.
Yeah, they might just use that Baron to first pick up the dragon and then look for a fight around bottom side. And the saddest thing right now is that Xiang's picked up his Warmogs now, so that bite's going to be even larger. But just to take a second look at it, this was a decent timing on the fight. They got Varus, but they weren't able to completely chunk him out. The flash came through to keep Chelly alive. And that's really all it was. That's the end of the fight. That's when EDG have to back away. Because the moment you can't take down the carry, and he's able to reposition to a point of just while dealing damage to you, he's still safe. Then it's like, all right, we're never going to get a proper trade here.
Haro missing the flash knockup as well. Not performing too well in this match so far as. If you're EDG at the moment, you have to be thinking towards game number 2 because the goal lead is huge for OMG. 12,000 gold up. It's going to be a miracle for them to try and find a team fight in this match. A minute left of Baron buff for OMG to work with.
Yeah, I would like to give small defense to Haro in terms of coming into this game with a Rek'Sai, recognizing that he's not even going to have the early game skirmish because Xin Zhao is looking out for him. And even though Xin Zhao didn't get to do too much, he just kind of stopped Rek'Sai from being able to continuously pressure the map. He got one good gank. That was great from Haro. What else could he do? Because he was just under the threat of constant counter ganking. So at that point forward, you're like, all right, maybe I'm a Rek'Sai and I go towards the late game portions of it. At that point, the only criticism would just be to where it's building more tanky. You would have to build tanky. Other than that, he would not be very useful.
Was not an OMG able to take down the top lane inhibitor turret and inhibitor, moving towards the final one in the bottom lane, and surely EDG have to try something. Elder Dragon's the next dragon to spawn. This is the last inhibitor they have standing. There's no more Baron buff from OMG. Now's a good time to fight, but it just seems like EDG can't pull the trigger, Raz.
They're essentially looking at this and be like, we have no options. They do just have to throw the kitchen sink and hope that OMG fails.
Well, they haven't yet, and slowly EDG are bleeding out against OMG. Only Nexus turrets left standing. Icon takes some damage from iBoy. He steps up and tries to get as much damage in as possible.
Such good positioning from iBoy. Single-handedly pushed OMG away from their own base. So now OMG are like, okay, I guess Icon and 5 both took way too much damage to feel comfortable about this team fight. So now OMG has to base, and it buys EDG some time.
Buying time's not enough. That gold lead stretching, Raz. 13,000 now. When does it stop?
When the Nexus explodes. Factual statement.
Is there anything EDG really have left for them than Nexus? Double super minions crashing into each lane means that EDG will be constantly pushed back on their side of the map. iBoy trying to farm whatever objective he can, even Krugs if he can take them. Moving into the lanes as well, just snatching up anything that's possible.
Yeah, here's what's going to be heartbreaking for EDG. They're going to have to forecast the next play. The play is either, of course, defend your base consistently and push back OMG, or wait for the Baron that's now coming up in 2 minutes. OMG can actually just stay firm, wait for Baron, and then have 2 or at least 3 super minion waves come through with a Baron buff on top of that.
OMG can push in every single wave and choose not to fight if they don't have to.
Yeah.
And just make sure EDG are constantly pushed underneath their turret, then move for that objective. But for now, again, stepping into EDG's base.
That's such a massive shield. They just need to make use of that when they're trying to defend this.
They throw out a couple of knockouts, but they don't connect. iBoy taking some damage. OMG have their eyes set towards the turret. Stand United coming out on top of iBoy, but he doesn't do anything. Rupture connects. Everyone OMG going to heal back up. Haro now going for the fight. EDG trying to jump in. Fireloli goes in first. Stays out of range of iBoy. Uses the stasis to stay alive. Still has GA available. That gets popped. But Chelly gets the first kill of the fight. Taking out Haro. Now back on top of Ray. iBoy trying to do what he can in the back lines. Double kill being picked up by Chelly. iBoy finally falls. That was the last bastion of hope coming out for EDG. And OMG march towards the Nexus, sending everybody else back in towards the fountain. And slowly, surely, they'll be able to take down this Nexus. Double kill gets picked up by Scout, but it's too little too late. Chelly's just going to pad his KD, and OMG pick up game 1 against EDG.
And another impressive look from OMG. 1-2 in the standings, but they're looking like a top-of-the-tier team.
They certainly are. Impressive start to this series against EDG.
An impressive call-out for Fireloli initially in this game. Sure, it looks like not much happened with him, but it felt like the game became a lot slower paced because we were used to seeing a more active OMG. We're used to seeing a team that plays around World 6 actively early on, level 1 through 6. But this is a different OMG entirely.
And you say that as if he picked up someone like Sejuani and was farming for a little bit, Raz. He picked up Zhao in this game. That's not a champion that you play slowly around, you know, be a bit patient on. It's a champion you want to dive straight into the game with.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But he did play it to great success. We didn't see any gimmicks out of it, nothing cheesy coming from the strategy. Just the pick to get a couple of ganks, and it was just a snowballed game for OMG almost.
Yeah, it started with them, and then it definitely ended with Xiyang. Xiyang definitely had a very strong game here today. That he found one opportunity. It was that one gank that happened top lane, and he made use of it. Went back, got Righteous Glory, and got a solo kill on Ray. So Ray didn't find any opportunity to use his ulti to the bottom side of the map to make a play for them because OMG would constantly deny that as a team and step away from the turret. And then he was like, well, I guess I'm stuck in this lane in which I'm constantly getting battered in.
Yeah, he certainly was. It wasn't a very good lane matchup for him at all. iBoy, we expected to step up to the play. He still looked fine.
Yeah.
Even in teamfights, he looked like he was doing okay, but it was just the rest of EDG were kind of collapsing, especially Haro, making that big mistake to dive into the backlines after knowing 5 was clearing out a couple of wards.
Yeah, they'll be hearing that by going into the back. If you're talking about that, maybe reviewing that moment where he kind of walks in. Rather, like, doesn't matter if he saw the Braum or not. It just was a very risky play. It was a jump for him as an AD Rek'Sai where he was not going to be able to survive very long.
Didn't work out for EDG, and OMG pick up game number 1 to, you know, sum up that first match. Let's send it back to the analyst desk.
Cheers, Fish, and we're going to rewind and go back to the champion set because Froskurina had some very strong words about EDG's drafts coming into this game before we even touch on the Zhao.
I'd like to name a more iconic duo than EDG and fumbling draft phase.
Alright, Frost, what was the problem?
We say this every year about them. It doesn't matter if Aaron, Rapid Star, or No Faye, or Clear Love is on the team, he's not on the team. For whatever reason, they just like... This is subpar. Okay, look at the Kog'Maw. Now look at all the other champions next to the Kog'Maw. Who does damage there? No one does damage. They have a single damage composition versus all of the damage threats on OMG. Like, you completely see protect the Kog'Maw. Okay, that's fine. But the problem is when they're trading front lines. We got to talk to our resident Xin Zhao expert on Clement. I told Clement that I would give him the shout out there. And the thing is Xin Zhao is not there to dive the backline onto the Kog'Maw. He is actually there to run front to back and just destroy the tank line, which is basically what happened. Because of Kog'Maw, he can't hit Xin, he can't hit Cho, he can't kill them fast enough, and that's basically what happened. They just rolled over the tank line. EDG had to fall back because if there's no one standing in front of Kog'Maw, he's not hitting anyone. Don't gotta kill him. He's gonna be done.
Yep, and to be honest, it was really just all about those fights and those skirmishes, because in the early game, nothing really happened. We had like 2, maybe 3 kills, and I was like, alright, fine, I'll just go to the restroom. And I come back, community style, I've got my notebook, and I was like, what happened? OMG suddenly have a massive answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at the replay and see what happened on that one. But I heard it was a Zhonya's in mid lane, a stopwatch rather.
Oh yeah, this is the first time Pulse has seen this, and I basically responded, Haro just entered. He goes in, he sees the stopwatch, and as Raz was saying, which is a very risky play. Now the thing is this is the play that sets everything off. This is like a 4K, 5K gold swing in favor of OMG. And unfortunately, you know, this is the time when Kog'Maw has 2 item power spikes, so they want to kind of take a slow and steady team fight there, ramp the gold onto their AD carry, and then try to move from that point forward. But when you put yourself in a little hole like that, you're like, ooh, now I have to play defensively around the Baron. I've got a Kog'Maw, and we're super far behind in gold, and no one else on our team does damage. We're kind of screwed.
And that's the problem with falling behind, because you're so one-dimensional. It's just like, oh, what do we do? And then Zhao running at your AD carry and just sitting there on the front lines. Well, what are you going to do? I'm just going to sit here invulnerable for the next 2 seconds. There's nothing you can do about it. So that eventually leads into a Baron play coming out from OMG as well, where they just basically put the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and the final team or replay that we have actually really showcases the team fighting of, again, this Xin Zhao wasn't there to dive into the backline. He was literally there to rip the front line apart. Because that's the thing, OMG and EDG can just trade front lines, and OMG win that because they have more champions that do more damage. Even their tank in the top lane, like Cho'Gath, has that massive burst of the feast. And unfortunately, EDG learned that the hard way. Like, I guess Kog'Maw's not really going to do anything here.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of damage in the end, but it feels bad when he sat there in mid lane. He can choose between the invulnerable Xin Zhao or a Cho'Gath, who's got like 7 billion HP. So there's not a lot he can do in that situation, unfortunately. And that was basically just the game. So it all spiraled out of that draft, and then the game ended.
Yeah, but that said, that is a very easy fix then. And what we do say about EDG...
Is it? Because you keep saying that EDG, this is their problem, and this is the iconic
but
duo.
They keep winning the league, so it doesn't matter, Post. They learned their lesson. Unfortunately, it does mean that sometimes series do drag on. I'm not ready to ship out on EDG. Both Clement and I felt that they were the stronger team going into the match. After watching game 1 with Clement next to me, we were both like, ooh, is this true now? So we are definitely giving a lot more credit to OMG. I thought what they executed on was brilliant. It was super cool to see Fireloli come flying out against his old team, and I'm actually really surprised they give man of the match to Icon. Yes, the Azir was sitting there 44% damage percentage done. That's super high, but it is Azir. But I still feel that Fireloli, like, looking down the barrel of EDG, the team that he played for 2 years, they tried to start him multiple times, resubbed him, and he beats them with Xin Zhao.
Yep, I'll tell you why he didn't get it, because he dealt like 3,000 damage. However, I'm sure if you put that damage to minions, that he probably just smashed the jungle. Had the static shiv coming in there as well, so even though he's hitting the front lines, he could rip through that jungle. Yeah,
the Chinese solo QS build coming in there. Triumph and Alacrity Xin Zhao. That dude was going one direction.
Yeah, that guy's going to pretty much ruin solo queue in China, all 20 servers. But either way, we're going to take a quick break before we head into game number 2.